I am continuously invested in American equities. But I've had my Berkshire stock decline by 50% 3 times. And it doesn't bother me that much.
Charlie Munger often talks about how his financial success doesn't come from being the smartest person in the room. Instead, it stems from using a few simple tricks to avoid major mistakes. By applying these mental models and simple tricks, he has accumulated a remarkable wealth of $2.4 billion. In this video, I'm going to share 5 simple investing tricks that helped Charlie a lot to becoming a billionaire. So let's start with lesson number 1.
Well, we have a very peculiar way of looking at things. We want to buy something that's intrinsically a very good business, meaning that an idiot could run it and it would do all right. And then we want that business, which an idiot could run successfully, to have a wonderful person in it running it. And if we have a wonderful business with a wonderful person running it, that really turns us on. And it works very well. And now we do make exceptions, but not many. And it's a pretty simple philosophy. Warren sometimes says you have to choose good person or good business. You know what he says? This is not politically correct. He says good business. He wants something that has such tremendous strength. I had a friend when I practiced law, and he said, if it won't stand a little mismanagement, it's not much of a business. And we like businesses that stand a lot of mismanagement but don't get it. So that's our formula. And we can't make it work perfectly, but it certainly worked better than most people's.
So recognizing a good business isn't about being perfect or knowing everything, right? It's about understanding basic principles that work consistently, like compound interest, for example. Then we go into the second life lesson, and that is, as Charlie Munger liked to say, go to bed smarter than you woke up.
It was perfect for me. I don't think you can take every bookish little boy and turn him into a billionaire by patting him on the head and say, read all you want, Johnny. But if it were that easy, there'd be more billionaires. But it enormously helped me. And I think reading, once you've learned it, reading and arithmetic, you can take in so much, and you can take it in on your own time schedule. If somebody's talking to you, he may be telling you something you don't want to know, you already know, it's too hard, or he's going too fast or too slow. Yeah. But when you're reading, you can just take it as you want it. So it's just God's gift. If you're into self-education, there's nothing like reading. And of course, people who do a lot of it have an enormous advantage.
Like Charlie says, reading keeps your mind sharp and opens you up to new ideas, new perspectives, and knowledge, right? Because life is consistently changing, and therefore staying informed helps you adapt and grow. Regular reading allows you to improve daily. And then the third life lesson. This is all about clear thinking and effective communication.
An enormous advantage. Of course, if you learn your own language, that's a very useful gift. And of course, learning the basic math of life is another tremendous gift. And if you're really good at picking up language and doing just basic arithmetic, you can take enormous territory. You don't need much else. I have never looked at a calculus problem since I left Caltech. Never left it. Never looked once, never used it. And I was a whiz. By the way, I went away totally. 70 some years, that was enough. Yeah, I don't know about your calculus, but mine is gone. And so, but this other stuff never goes away. And if you keep honing it and if you get good at it, then you learn something that's more important than what they teach you in college, is you learn the method of learning. when I want to know something, I just learn it. And take, for instance, I got to the Harvard Law School. I couldn't figure out how Reverend Moon was inviting people out to one weekend, and they came back brainwashed zombies for the rest of their lives. And nobody in the Harvard Law School could explain it to me. So I said, I'll figure it out for myself. My mother had a little nursery rhyme, a little red hen that said, I'll do it myself, said the little red hen. So I said, I'll figure this out. Well, it took me a long time. But I finally figured out to my satisfaction exactly what was being done. They just stumbled into this through practice evolution. It wasn't calculated forethought. They just assembled a bunch of psychological tricks and pounded them on these people all at once under conditions involving stress. And at a certain point, the brain would just snap. And they had these people transformed into slaves. Boom. Well, that was a very interesting thing, but of course nobody wants to talk about it because it has implications, people fear. But I think that that habit of if they won't explain it to you, figure it out for yourself, has helped me enormously in life. It's also hurt me because you give terrible offense when you go into somebody else's profession and act like you know more than he does.
Right.
And I'm much smoother now than I was when I was young. And I'm still pretty insufferable.
So mastering language helps you organize and articulate your thoughts clearly. And like Charlie said, if you can express yourself well, you are more likely to think critically and avoid confusion of misunderstandings in both personal and professional context, right? So language is the tool we use to structure ideas, and if your language skills are weak, your ability to think and solve problems is also diminished. But what if your language skills are really strong? Then we dive into trick number 4, and that is really important, and that is everything about a possible stock market decline. Because if you are an investor, a stock market decline isn't something to fear about, but it is something to expect one day.
I am continuously invested in American equities. But I've had my Berkshire stock decline by 50% 3 times. And it doesn't bother me that much. I regard that as just a natural consequence of adult life properly lived. So if you have my attitude, it doesn't really matter. I always like Kipling's expression in that poem called If, and he said, success and failure, he says, treat those 2 imposters just the same. You just roll with it. Sometimes it's going for you and some against, and it's all part of the same game.
Charlie Munger has often spoken about the inevitability of stock market declines, especially the fact that a 50% decline in stock prices is not unusual. Munger points out that volatility and sharp declines are a normal part of the stock market. His key lesson here is maintaining an emotional resilience, understanding risk, and having a long-term perspective when investing. And if you cannot handle these kind of market swings, maybe it's better that you don't invest. So the next investing trick is number 5. This is what Charlie made a billionaire, and that is the trick he uses the most.
But what caused the financial success was not extreme ability. I have a good mind, but I'm way short of prodigy. And I've had results in life that are prodigious. And that came from tricks. I just learned a few basic tricks from people like my grandfather.
What were those
What
tricks?
kind of? Now everybody's leaning in, wanting to know.
It's too late for you old guys. Anyway, there are all kinds of tricks that I just got into by accident in life. One, I invert all the time. And I was a weather forecaster when I was in the Air Corps. And how did I handle my new assignment? being a weather forecaster in the Air Corps is a lot like being a doctor that reads x-rays. It's a pretty solitary.
Yeah.
You're in the hangar in the middle of the night and drawing weather maps and you're clearing pilots, but you're not interfacing with a bunch of your fellow men very much. And so I figured out the minute I was actually making weather forecasts for real pilots, I said, how can I kill these pilots? Now, that's not the question that most people would ask, but I want to know what the easiest way to kill them would be so I could avoid it. And so I thought it through in reverse that way, and I finally figured out, I said, there are only two ways I'm ever going to, I was in the ferry command, there are only two ways I'm going to kill a pilot. He said, I'm going to get him to icing his plane can't handle, and that will kill him. Or I'm going to get him someplace where he's going to run out of gas before he can land because all the airports are sucked in. And I just was fanatic about avoiding those two hazards. And if Kobe Bryant had had somebody like me, he'd still be with us. Yeah, it was so stupid to kill yourself that way. But just that basic, I may have learned that from my grandfather. My grandfather would say to me when I'm swimming, he'd say, swim as long as you want, but stay near the shore. Well, but you can laugh, but
No,
he was a very wise man.
Charlie's success is partly due to his ability to keep strategies simple and avoid overcomplicating things. By avoiding overly complex investments, they reduced risk and improved their chances of long-term success. In essence, Charlie's simple tricks are about embracing fundamental principles, using practical mental models, learning from experience, and keeping strategies straightforward. These approaches may seem simple, but they are powerful and effective tools for achieving real financial success. So if you enjoyed this video, you will probably love this one as well, where Jack Bogle shares the 26 most important lessons from his 68-year investing career, packed with amazing knowledge how he became a successful investor in the first place.